What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a fun one because I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I was able to grow my Instagram to over 10,000 followers in just under 2 months. So I started with around 2,500 followers on Instagram in December of 2020, and I grew to around 11,000 followers by the end of January. I really wish someone would have told me these things like this time last year, because I spent a lot of time trying to grow on Instagram and doing a lot of things that just honestly didn't work. So I'm gonna be very honest with you guys in this video and share with you guys what has really genuinely worked for me, because I really just started growing in the past few months, and I've been trying for a lot longer than that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing that has really helped me is realizing what my niche was on Instagram. And I know a lot of people say this and it sounds very, very obvious, but I will say you really have to think about the fact that there are so many people on Instagram, and there's also a lot of really good looking people in this world, right? So I think a lot of people have this assumption that it's if you're pretty, you're gonna blow up on Instagram, when in reality, that's not so true, because there's a lot of pretty people on Instagram, right? So you really, really wanna figure out for you, what is your value proposition? And I know I'm a fucking business major, so I sound really annoying, but you really want to figure out what is the thing that you bring to the table that other people don't have. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to be very similar, because again, there's a lot of people on Instagram, but you really want to figure out what is it that makes you somewhat different from the rest of the crowd, rather than just you being pretty or you looking good or you having cool outfits. So for me, I'm really passionate about fashion. That's something that I just have always really, really been into. But I really struggled with Instagram because I was passionate about fashion, but I also was posting a lot of other things that people didn't really care about, to be honest. I was really, really prioritizing how my feed looked. If you went to go visit my profile this time last year, I don't think it would be clear that that's what I was trying to do. When I asked my boyfriend to describe my Instagram, he put it really, really well. He basically was like, you look like a college girl who is posting the things that she sees throughout her everyday. I don't think people realize that you want to make fashion content. And it took me a while before I really listened, but once he told me that, I really realized that I wasn't translating well through my content what I was into, because again, I was so focused on having filler pictures in between my outfits. I wanted my feed to look cool. I wanted it to be a little bit different, and that was cool, but that wasn't really what I brought to the table. People weren't following me to see my aesthetic posts. People were following me, or I started getting followers because of my outfit pictures, and I didn't realize that until just a few months ago. And once I did realize that, I really leveraged that and started to use that to grow my Instagram. So that all to say, figure out what your niche is. If you're into fashion, then focus on the fashion. If you're into makeup, then focus on the makeup. You should post, again, whatever it is that you want to post it. Don't overthink it. But at the end of the day, don't try to do too many things, because it's going to be confusing. My next piece of advice is, once you kind of figure out what it is that you're into and what you want to make content on, find your groove and get consistent. And I know, again, everyone says this, it's important to be consistent on Instagram, but it is true. I know a lot of people have specific numbers that they recommend as far as posting goes. For me, I don't really have a formula or a certain amount of times a week that I recommend anyone post, but figure out what works for you. For some people that might mean posting every single day, and that's great. But for me, I honestly would just post as often as I could. Sometimes that would be 3 times a week. Sometimes that would even just be once a week. One thing that I think is really helpful if you're trying to get more consistent when posting content is not relying on someone else to help you make your content. So for me, I would have my boyfriend take all my pictures for me. And although that was great, because he's super supportive, he's down to take as many pictures as I ask him to take of me. But at the end of the day, I don't live with my boyfriend. We only see each other so many times in the week. And also he has other things going on in his life. So for me to take Instagram as seriously as I wanted to take it, it just didn't make sense for me to long-term rely on him to take my content for me. So when I finally realized that, I think it was in October of 2020, I went and bought my own tripod and I started taking my own pictures. And I have a video on my channel, if you guys haven't seen it yet, on how I take my own pictures for Instagram. So you guys can go check that out if you guys want. But that was really when things started to grow for me. And that's when I was really able to kind of find my groove and get better at taking pictures. And another thing that's really important to know is that if you're trying to get more consistent on Instagram, you might have to start investing into your platform. And I know it sounds kind of weird because it's bitch, this is just Instagram. What would I be spending my money on? But if you're posting fashion content or makeup content, again, no matter what niche you're in, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have products involved that you need to be posting. So there was one point for me in 2020 when I realized like, okay, if I'm gonna actually take this seriously and if I really want to get more consistent with my content, then I'm gonna have to start buying more clothes and investing in my social media. And that's when I started using my money from YouTube to buy clothes for my content. So I would buy brands that were a little bit more expensive than what I would usually buy. I would buy IMGA, some Jaded London, because I really wanted outfits that would stand out, but I also wanted a consistent amount of content to post. And I will say, like, at the end of the day, it started paying off for me because, again, like, I started buying Jaded London back in August of 2020, and for me that was a little bit more above my price range, but now Jaded London is sending me free clothes. So I will say, if you're investing money before you start growing on Instagram or whatever social media you're on, it can definitely pay off, because if you're taking really good quality content, then brands will notice you and they'll want to work with you, and then you're getting free clothes from them to make even more content, right? And I can make a whole separate video like on getting on PR lists and working with brands and stuff, but that's just definitely a great way to get brands to notice you, is to buy from them and post them, right? So once you've kind of found your groove and figured out like a way to get more consistent with posting on Instagram, you really want to focus on improving the quality of your content. And I know you guys are probably like, bitch, just tell me how to grow, but I'm telling you guys, before you worry about the growth and getting viral or getting whatever, like foundationally, you really need to figure out how you can make your quality, the quality of your content good, because you're not gonna ever get noticed, you're not gonna grow unless the quality of your content is good and is catching people's eye. And when you become consistent, when you start consistently taking pictures and taking your own pictures, you're naturally going to get better and better, and you're gonna figure out what lighting looks good on you, what posing looks good, what angles look good, what like style of pictures that you like. And it's really, really going to help you get better and get you noticed by more people, because you're putting in that work to improve your quality time after time. So that all to say, that is like all the foundational stuff that's really, really important for you to grow on Instagram. Now I'm gonna kind of get into like the tea of how y'all can actually start getting those numbers up. What I really recommend you guys do is cross promote yourself on different platforms. I think Instagram is like one of the hardest apps to grow on, and it's because Instagram, like the way that the app is built, it's not really built for you to discover a lot of people. Like, yes, there's the explore page and there's Reels now, but Instagram is not a search engine like YouTube, right? And it's also, the algorithm isn't built for you to just constantly be finding new people like TikTok. Instagram, most people, when they're on it, they're just looking at people that they already follow. And a lot of times they're going to go follow new people from other platforms. So I will say, for me, the number one thing that has helped me grow on Instagram is TikTok and getting people to follow me from my TikTok on my Instagram. So if you guys follow me on TikTok, you guys know a lot of my TikTok content has been me showing my journey and learning how to take my own Instagram pictures. And I was able to start giving people advice on doing the same, right? So a lot of people naturally went from my TikTok to go follow me on Instagram. So that's what really helped me. I will say, you don't have to do the exact same thing on TikTok in order to grow. There's so many different kinds of content on TikTok that people make. So if you have like a fashion Instagram, you can post styling videos on TikTok, or maybe you want to post like hauls and stuff on TikTok. There's so many different ways to get people's attention on TikTok. And in my opinion, it's a lot easier to get people's attention on TikTok. So just try different things based on what your niche is on Instagram. Just translate that over to your TikTok. When you really think about it, your online brand should be cohesive. You want each platform to just be different ways that people can digest your content, as weird as that sounds. That took me a long time to kind of understand, because you guys know that I just used to make college content, but eventually I kind of shifted over my content to fit what my Instagram is as well. So if you're coming from my Instagram to my YouTube or to my TikTok, you know what to expect, and vice versa. It doesn't matter where you come from, my entire social media presence is cohesive and it makes sense. So I highly recommend try to be as consistent as possible on all of your platforms. But again, if you're really just trying to focus on growing on Instagram, figure out how you can use YouTube and use TikTok to help you grow on that app. Oh, and the last thing that I will say, one thing that I have noticed that Instagram is pushing a lot more is Instagram Reels. If you guys haven't noticed, they've literally changed their interface to try to get people on Reels more. So I will say, if you're making TikTok content, or even if you're not, I would definitely prioritize making Instagram Reels, because Instagram is going to be more likely to promote your reel, even if you don't have that many followers. So if you're not into TikTok, if you don't want to get into YouTube, totally understandable, but I definitely do recommend you try to make some kind of video content and post that on Instagram Reels, because it is going to help you probably grow a little bit faster than if you're just posting pictures on Instagram. So again, all in all, I just definitely recommend focus on figuring out what your niche is on Instagram, get as consistent as possible, get your content up as high quality as you can, and then once you do that, figure out what other platforms and what other channels you can do to promote yourself and create one entire cohesive brand where you're expressing yourself creatively in different mediums, if that makes sense. So hopefully that was helpful, you guys. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any questions. And of course, again, make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel down below if you guys aren't already, and I will see you guys